retired chiropractic assistants. So I am so excited to share with you today for our first ever live Team Tuesday. So those of you that are watching live, make sure to tag your chiropractic assistants in this, tag your doctors, share with me if you're writing live. Feel free to ask questions live here in the comment box. Even if you're watching the replay, ask questions in the comment box, and I will keep an eye on this feed and make sure to answer those questions either directly, or I may even make videos to answer your questions as well, some training videos for your team. So today's topic is extremely important. It's one of my favorite topics of all times, communicating. And I know, guys, I know I always say that. I love it all. I love chiropractic assistants and everything that we have the joy and honor of doing. So I do have a lot of favorites when it comes to chiropractic. So today's topic is communicating with your doctor. This is so important. So many issues that I see when I go into a practice to run an immersion boil down to the basic communication between the doctor and the chiropractic assistant. So even if you're a chiropractor, I do encourage you to listen in because you're going to learn a lot about a CA's perspective of your communication. And then hopefully at a later date, we can have a conversation about the flip side, communicating with your CAs and really speaking their language. So today is communicating with your doctor and speaking their language. And I'm going to share with you my 3 essential keys to doing this. So before I do that, it's really important to realize that as a chiropractic assistant, the moment that you start the job, you become a guardian of the healer. So a lot of you have heard me use the phrase that we're like bouncers. You're like the doctor's bouncer and really protecting their space. So a much more beautiful way that I like to describe it. Now, hang on, Facebook is giving me a little alert here. Let me make sure that we're alive and going. Okay. I think we're good to go. If you're here with me live, give me some thumbs ups in the comment box. Hopefully we're good to go. We're gonna keep rocking and rolling. Okay, so you are, as a chiropractic assistant, you instantly become the guardian of the healer. So if I look at the entire office environment, everything, what's going to be the most important thing is the healing that's being facilitated and given from the doctor to the patient. The doctor is removing those interferences so that the patient's body can heal and function the way that it was designed to heal. So how important is this? Extremely important. And that's why those of you that are working with your doctor coaches work so much on mindset, right? Mindset, being in the right state, having a really incredible mindset, and making sure that you're really focused on the patient in front of you and being completely present. So as chiropractic assistants, we have to understand the extreme importance of guarding that space and not breaking the present time consciousness that the doctor is having with a patient. So I really want to guard my doctor's energy both before and during patient hours. So timing is everything when we have problems and issues that come up, but we'll address that in a moment. So how does this work? When you have a problem or an issue, in most cases or a lot of cases in a lot of your offices, your doctor is also the practice owner. So they're wearing 2 hats here. So if that's the case for your office, give me some thumbs ups or a little shout out if your doctor is also the practice owner or one of your doctors. Regardless, if you have something that needs to be addressed, I want to look at 3 things when there's a problem in the practice. The first one is this absolutely necessary? Because so often I do see chiropractic assistants bring up issues, bring up things to the doctor that might not be absolutely necessary. Or even like, is there anyone else that can help me with this? And so what's a way we can cross-check this question to find out if it's absolutely necessary? I like to ask myself, who will it serve? And that usually creates a lot of clarity. So if I've got a problem that's happening and I'm a CA, I have a problem that I'm going to bring up to my doctor, I ask myself first, is it absolutely necessary? I'm not sure, well, who would the answer serve? If I get the answer to this problem, who's it going to serve? And this is where we have to be really honest. Is it ourselves? Is it going to make us feel better? Are we looking to get some sort of validation from this conversation? If so, it might not have any space in this healing environment and culture that we're creating. If you're looking to get something personally out of it, then perhaps it doesn't belong there. Perhaps there's something internal, right, that we're wanting to get, a need that we're needing to get met, that we need to make sure to meet on our own and figure out how to get that need met. So am I wanting acknowledgement or attention or something by bringing up this issue? If so, and I know it's really humbling, we all do this. It's human interaction, or it's just humans do this all the time. So the reason why we're addressing it here is because it doesn't, that level of kind of self-fulfillment, it doesn't really have space in this healing environment at this time. It's not going to benefit. So who's the answer going to serve? And that'll help a lot. If it's going to serve your practice, if it's going to serve your patients, that's going to help bring a lot of clarity of like, yes, this is necessary, this is important. So once it's past that step one, we're going to go to step two, which is, can I handle this on my own? Or is there anyone else that could handle it? Like with confidence. Is this something I can confidently handle on my own? Think if I were the doctor, how would I handle this? Is there someone else that could help me? Maybe a manager, even a patient in some cases. So now if I've determined, no, this is definitely something I need to go to the doctor with, I want to give you some communication structures that have been complete game changers for my CAs when communicating with their doctor, okay? So when communicating with my doctor, I like to look at the 2 P's. What's the point? What's the purpose? Because as the practice owner, their job is to scan for the point and the purpose of conversations. So do I have absolute clarity on the point and the purpose? Now, what's a great way to communicate a clear point? With a bullet point. Can I communicate this in a bullet point without a long, crazy backstory? Like, what's the point? What's the purpose? I get clarity on that before I go to the doctor. The second thing I want to do is do my 3 S's solution technique. So this is very simple. They actually teach this in public speaking. Is for every P, for every problem, you're going to have 3 S's, 3 solutions. So before I go to my doctor with the problem, I'm going to use some critical thinking and troubleshoot here and think, okay, what's a good solution and what are 3 reasons why this is a good solution? So we have this issue. What's a good solution? What are 3 reasons? So let me show an example of this. Let's say perhaps, none of you guys of course, but let's say perhaps there's an office where maybe the doctor runs a little bit late on their day 1 patient visits. And you've noticed that this is a problem. You've gotten a lot of complaints. They might even know it's a problem themselves. Maybe they don't know it's a problem, but I know that it's something that needs to get addressed. Like patients are getting upset. So I would go to my doctor and I would say something like, hey, I've noticed that our day ones tend to run a little bit late and I was looking for a good solution for this. Would it be helpful if once we're at that 20-minute mark, would it be helpful if I just knock on the door, pop my head in to see if there's anything that I can help you with? That way it'll be like a nice way to kind of give a nice way for me to step in, let you know that we're at the 20-minute point. It's also could be like a good code. We have patients waiting as well. It'll also show the patient that you're high in demand if they're rambling on. They'll know that you have people waiting. I think this could be a great solution, and I'm kind of just quickly going through the bullet points of why it's a great solution. That way patients won't have to wait in the waiting room and get frustrated. We can be respectful of your time, get you out of here at the end of the day so that everything doesn't get drug out for the whole day. So that was not the best verbiage. That was just on the fly there. But what I wanted to show you is for every problem, have the solution and why it's a solution to clearly communicate even those difficult things. So that was actually a pretty real example of what I did as the chiropractic assistant is once we were at that mark, whatever time my doctor had told me, like the 20-minute mark, with the new patient, I would go in, ask if I could help with anything. And it was great because it usually meant that maybe the patient was rambling. Anyways, it was great because it gave my doctor that marker of like, okay, here's how much time I have left. And it opened up a good opportunity for them to communicate to the patient as well. Okay, so 1P, 3 possible solutions, or a solution and why it's a solution. That's your step number 2. Don't forget, what's the point? What's the purpose? Have clarity on that. You don't want to go in to have these important conversations with your doctor and have a long story, right? Or ramble on or tell them all the reasons, especially those of you that have a male doctor or a doctor that's running in their masculine. This will drive them crazy. So we want to be really clear going in because they're problem solvers. They're going to be here to help fix what is going on. Okay. Now the third thing, which is very important, is the timing. So we're going to look at when is the optimal timing to bring up this problem, right? Or the thing that needs to be communicated. So I like to split up, like chunk it up in time frames, for instance. So like, is this super, super high priority, has to happen right now, emergency situation, it's about the patient that's in the office, and you may even have a way to communicate this amongst your team and your doctor. Like for me and my team, that's an A+ item. So if my team gets an email or a communication from me that says A+, they know, like, drop everything, handle this now. And that goes both ways as well. So is it an A+ item, which is like a right now thing? Or is it more like a today thing? Like it needs to get done today, but I don't need to interrupt the flow. It's not an emergency. I could ask at the next lull, or I could ask at the end of the shift. Or, is it a week thing? Like it has to get done this week. That might even be something I could put in an email or, a reminder alert. Or is it something that's more like creative vision planning? So for those things, right, that might be something that you would talk about at a team retreat or a quarterly retreat or a team meeting, or goal setting. Is it more vision based? As exciting and wonderful as that is, when inspiration strikes and you want to bring it up right away, we do have to look at, is the timing right? Is that something I would bring up during peak flow, during patient hours? Probably not. And by the way, this goes both ways. So one of the things I see often that's challenging for teams is when their doctor comes to them with things that need to get done. And it's like in the moment, it's fresh on the doctor's mind. They say, we need to do this, this, and this. A lot of times it's hard for the team members to determine, am I supposed to drop everything and do this right now? Or I'm super busy, I'm really backed up, it's impossible to get that done too. They're putting more on my plate. Has anyone besides me ever had that feeling? So if you're getting that feeling of like overwhelm and stress, a great thing to do would be to ask a very quick clarifying question. So depending on what they ask you to do, you should be able to determine general time frame. Like if it's something that seems urgent, you should be able to determine if it's a like urgent thing, it's probably a right now or by the end of the day, or by the end of the day or by the end of the week. Then you're going to ask that question to the doctor. Once you have like 2 options, you'll ask that question. Okay, is this urgent? Is this a right now thing? Should I drop everything to this now? Or is it more of an end of the day thing before I leave? So always ask a clarifying question when you're given a task, because typically what it is, it's fresh on their mind. They don't want to forget. Does that make sense? So, or, is this an end of the day thing or more of an end of the week thing? Get that clarification, put it in your notes. type people. So a lot of what they share or action steps or ask you to do are very creative. Or sometimes it might feel like they ask something way over here and then something way over here. And you're like, where are we going with this? So that would be another really great time for a clarifying question. Is this something that I can put as an action step, or is this more something I should take note of for us to address when we're vision planning or when we're goal setting? And then oftentimes it'll be something to take note of for vision planning and goal setting. And they'll love, love, love if you remember that, because they might forget, right? So put it in your notes for the appropriate time, whether that's team meeting or maybe in a couple weeks down the road, to send a reminder. Hey, doctor, I remember you mentioned this amazing idea you had, about blowing out this wall and starting a weight loss program. Is that something that I can help you follow up on? Or what would be the next step to making this vision happen? And keeping in mind and having grace with a creator type of person, they're going to have lots of ideas, exciting ideas with passion, but they're not necessarily all going to be action steps. It might be like, oh, it'd be cool if we did this or this or this or this. You keep it in mind as like, okay, these are ideas and visions and brainstorming, creativity type of things my doctor has. We'll readdress it when the time's right and figure out which ones they want to take action on, right? So if you've ever felt like one day it might be this, the next it might be that, that's the creative process. So that's totally okay. Don't feel like you have to execute all those things today, because they might just be ideas or brainstorming. So that's where you're going to get clarification when you guys are creating. And then for my doctors that have been so patiently waiting, keeping that in mind, like as CAs, one of the things I've seen so consistent across the board is as CAs, we want to please our doctor. Like we want to do things the right way, the way you've asked us to do things. We want to make you happy. So keep that in mind when you are having the creative process. It may be good to filter through some of that and see, is this something that my team absolutely needs to know right now? Or would this be something maybe I could journal about, vision, and then once I have clear actions, give those to my team? And that's something that will create a really great thrive environment for your team. They need to know the difference between what might be a good idea one day, vision, brainstorming, and action right now. Like that's one of the bigger areas where I see there's a gap in communication. So if you can clearly communicate that, maybe they don't need to know every single thing. Anyways, if you guys have any questions, throw them in the chat box. There you go. Okay, perfect. One more thing to add when we have people join us live. Oftentimes I've asked, is there one more thing? So one more thing to add is I'm actually going to share with you something that my parents taught me before I got my very first job. Remember, they sat me down and they said that this is a purchase exchange. This is an exchange, a value exchange. So they said, just like if you go to the store and you purchase something, whatever it is, let's say it's an apple, you're trading X amount of dollars, X amount of currency for that apple. So your time can also be a currency exchange. So at your job, right, if somebody has hired you to come in for an hour, 8 hours, or whatever the agreement is, it is a currency exchange. You are trading those 8 hours for X amount of dollars, which means you no longer own those 8 hours. They don't belong to you. So if you take time out of that as your own, it's the same as stealing, as going into a grocery store and pulling things that you haven't purchased. And my dad would even take it to the extreme. He'd be like, if you have to pee, you better run, because that's not your time that you're peeing on. I have a big Italian father, you can probably imagine from the story. So just keep that in mind. I think that's something that we can forget sometimes is, what's the exchange here as well? because certain things, might be things that we would want to handle outside of office hours or when we're not on the clock. So keeping that in mind, like I've traded this time for X amount of dollars. And then that goes both ways too, right? That absolutely goes both ways as well. So I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and it's so great to see all of you. Thank you for having me here for Team Tuesday. Give me some thumbs up and hearts when you watch the rewatch if this was helpful, and if you have any requests for future Team Tuesdays. I'm working on this schedule for the rest of the year. So now's a great time to put in requests for either chiropractors, things that would be helpful for your team, or team things that would be helpful for you.